welcome to the Solar Power Market Series. My name is Erez Dolev, and I'm the Managing Director here at RENVU. Today, we're going to be hearing from Spencer Cream about Enel X Way and their residential and commercial EV chargers. Before we dive in, and while we're waiting for more people to join, I'd like to give a little background on RENVU and some of the products and services we offer. So RENVU is a US-based solar equipment distributor established in 2012. All of our sales engineers have engineering background, and we have fulfillment facilities in California, New Jersey, and Texas. I would like to spotlight several energy storage brands we carry. We have SolarArc on the shelf and have them on special sale with home grid battery banks. This is a great combination we recommend for storage. Another great opportunity is the Qcells Q-Home Plus ESS system. This is a 7.6 kilowatt inverter that can connect to up to 6.3 kilowatt hour batteries, which brings you to 18.9 kilowatt hour storage. We're offering this kit with 3 additional 2 batteries. So you would get a total of 31.5 kilowatt hour of batteries, 20 rapid shutdown devices, auto transformer, and BMS for only $11,800 approximately. And you get also $1,000 gift card per unit when you buy more than one. We also offer unbeatable pricing on the Enphase microinverters and Enphase Encharge energy storage. If you're interested in those, I'll show some pricing in a second. We're sharing the link to our popular commercial module price list Excel file in the chat. Here you can find all our available modules and tiered pricing for each one of these. I recommend to use this spreadsheet as a tool for market pricing analysis since we're updating it daily with any market changes and availability. So on the second tab of the same spreadsheet, you can find some special clearance items with special pricing. You can see here the Qcells ESS, SolarEdge optimizers, inverters and batteries, and the Enphase microinverters, batteries, and combiners, and some other brands as we get them. Hey, don't miss that. These are great prices that are not available anywhere else. I'll take a minute to also mention the Bleaker residential carport. This is a product that utilizes the Enel X. You can see in the back of the carport here that there are 2 Enel X's that are mounted on the back columns. The carport is designed to receive the back plate of the Enel X. It has drilled holes for these and a hole to accept the wires, to run the wires through the columns. This is a great way to expand existing solar systems or an alternative solution where you cannot install solar on a roof. Shown here is the 2-car carports. There is also the option for a tandem solution with shared columns. So you can connect multiple of those when you need a carport for more than 2 cars. It is designed to be assembled by a crew of 2 people. It doesn't require any specialized or heavy machinery to install. This is a solar structure, so it's eligible for the 30% ITC and the extra 10% for US-made products. The carport is supplied with an iron-rich system and under panel clamps, so it accepts any solar module and inverter you want. When combined with Bleaker EPDM T-gasket, the surface becomes watertight. You can add some accessories, decorative mesh to hide the solar components and electronics. Also, we have front safety lights that are solar powered, so you don't need to run any wires for those. And depending on the local AHJ, you can also run wiring through the carport columns. And as I mentioned before, you can add EV chargers, and the Enel X is pre-designed with it. It is designed and fabricated in the US using US-made materials, so the steel is made here and comes with 25 years warranty. The structure is coming with a structural engineer PE stamp, so you can install up to 24 solar modules with 4 columns of 6 modules when you're using residential modules, or 18 modules when you're using commercial, with basic load capacities of 35 pounds per square foot of snow load, which can be upgraded up to 65 pounds per square foot. And it comes with 175 miles per hour wind load and seismic design category E. The two-car carport is 18 feet wide and 18 feet deep with 9.5 feet clearance, so you can install it in any direction and it will give you the same coverage, so the cars can enter the structure from any direction. That helps when the site is not located with facing south, and it comes with 5 degrees tilt. You can find the 3D model of the tandem carport and the standalone carport on the Bleaker website. We will share a link to that uh, if you want to look at it and play with the 3D design. One last item to go over before we get started is our solar design and quote tool. You will find it on the top of our homepage on renvu.com. You can generate as many quotes as you need in a couple minutes without the need of a sales engineer, and it's available 24/7. First, you select the system type and components you would like to see on your quote, and then choose your panel. Next, you will configure your racking system from a wide range of options. I'll select a metal tilted roof. And then after you selecting your metal tilted roof, if there are more options, it will give you the type of sheet that you need. I'll put 2 arrays here. First array, I will select 8 modules in portrait, and then 5 modules in landscape. Second array will with 9 modules in portrait. You can select the color of the rails here. I'll choose black, and I'm changing the span to 6 feet. And the system would create a sketch of the array at the bottom of this page. Then let's see, this is a sketch, and on the next page, you would be able to choose the inverter that you want, and also energy storage options if you would like. On the left side, you will see the bill of materials building up, and when you're logged in to your account, prices changes as you edit your system configuration. This is a great way to compare the cost of different options in real time. Our team updates the tool constantly with the latest solar components and pricing currently available in the market. Let's select here storage that I want, choosing home grid. You can see when I'm choosing it, how the pricing and quantities of items on the left are changing. On the last page, you will see I'm adding here some other components like rapid shutdown. On the last page, you will be able to add a couple of spare modules if you need a balance of system and disconnects, and the Enel X EV chargers. I can select to add it to this quote, and then it will ask me how many I want. So I'll select here 2 of them. Then you can save the quote on your account and get a quote to your email. You can also email our sales engineers at info@renvu.com. Our team will review the bill of materials and weigh in with insight on configuration and availability. We are also available for any questions you may have. I encourage you to take a moment and play around with this tool. It's interesting to compare options and complete different design configurations. You can also change here the results with adding more, removing items, and purchase this system that you just got. Okay. I think we can start now. We have a significant number of participants already. This webinar is being recorded and we will upload it to our YouTube channel, and it will be available also as a podcast. We will share the links in the follow-up email. If you have questions during the presentation or the Q&A session, use the Q&A button which makes it easier for us to make sure we answer all the questions. So Spencer, I think you can take over now and start sharing your slide deck. Let me stop sharing. There you go. You're muted.
Hey everybody, I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay. So my name is Spencer Krim, and I work at Enel X Way. We're a EV charging and e-mobility solutions arm of a company. Excited to be partnered with RENVU, and as you guys have questions, yeah, definitely throw them in the Q&A. I'm going to try to get through these slides fairly quickly so that we can make this a little more interactive in the Q&A, or we can be at least acknowledging these questions and making sure you guys are getting the information that you need. So I'll give you guys a quick introduction of myself. We'll talk about Enel X Way as a company, talk about incentives that are available out there, the benefits of combining solar and EV charging, talk about basic smart EV charging, and then we'll dive into the solutions that we provide, installation, overview, and then get right into the Q&A. So like I said, my name is Spencer Krim. I am a senior account executive at Enel X Way. I've been in the energy or alternative energy industry for 10 years now. Started in solar, worked in distributed energy resources in demand response, and then was in EV charging starting in 2016. Lots of experience working with big and small customers across North America. So to talk about Enel X Way, we are part of a group called the Enel Group, which is a global Fortune 200 company. We did about $148 billion in revenue last year, 67,000 employees across 31 countries. We are the largest private operator of clean energy in the world, with 59 gigawatts of clean energy operating around the world, quite a bit in Latin America and North America, Europe, Asia. This company has a North American business unit called Enel X, which is distributed energy resources, demand response, battery storage, et cetera. And Enel X, the e-mobility group, the EV charging group, used to roll up to that group. And now, as of this year, we are part of a global organization that operates across the 31 countries, headquartered in Rome. But we are a large company with a deep balance sheets committed to growing globally for EV charging across all use cases. I kind of covered some of this information already, but I think the biggest thing to pay attention to on this slide is that Enel X Way has over 500,000 charging ports for electric vehicle charging across the world. About 160,000 of those are in North America. We own and operate many of these stations in Europe. We are beginning to own and operate DC fast charging hubs in North America. And you'll see that we have hardware and software solutions for every use case for EV charging, whether that's at home or charging a bus fleet or quick stop convenience or workplace or what have you, but we'll get into that. I've been in this industry since since 2016, like I said, which if you look at that graph is that smallest sliver of orange on that first bar graph. It's been really exciting to see the growth that we've seen in the last 7-8 years. And we are about to really accelerate and see tremendous growth for EV charging and for EV adoption. I feel like every day there's new and exciting news around more electric vehicles on the road, and there's it's exciting to be working at a company that's really focused on solving the critical speed bump to electric vehicle adoption, which is building the charging infrastructure. So it's exciting to be a part of this and be partnered with RENVU, where this looks pretty similar to, I think, the growth that we saw in solar. And we're going to be fast following on that, which is pretty exciting. So there are a lot of incentives out there, and it's going to be very localized. There's a couple of federal incentives that are specific. There's an income tax credit. There is I think people have heard a lot about NEVI, or the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure incentive, where we're along federal highways, there will be fast charging hubs, and those are going to be 50 to 80% funded by incentives, which is great. But across municipalities, across counties, states, in utility programs, there are incentives that can cover $500 off a charger up to 80% off. They might even cover all of the infrastructure and make ready. So including service upgrades to handle the electrical capacity from the utility all the way to the station itself. There's also incentives that are out there to incentivize EV ownership. So it's hard to talk specifically about this because it's going to be so regional or driven by your zip code. We have a full list of incentives on our website, and that link is live in this PowerPoint, but you guys can't click on it, so I'll make sure that gets sent out at the end. But we are here to help educate and identify the educate you on the incentives that are available. So to talk about why solar and EV charging, I think it's it's kind of a critical part of the ecosystem. We see clean energy coming in. We've got the renewable energy coming in. You can combine it with battery storage, and then being able to take really an electric car is as clean as the power going into it. And so it's solar really helps decarbonize transportation. When you look at the gas equivalency or gas mileage equivalency of an electric car and the carbon footprint of an electric car, it really does vary state by state based off of the power mix. So a car driving in, charging up in California is obviously cleaner than a car charging up in West Virginia, where there's a lot of coal power. But it makes sense there's just a real cohesion between solar and electric transport. The other thing that's a little more tangible is the overlap between solar owners residentially and EV drivers. And there are EV drivers want to be charging their car on solar, and solar owners want to be driving electric cars. You just see a tremendous overlap here. And so what this means is that there's a big opportunity for solar to sorry, I'm just looking ahead to see. I've got a slide later on here that talks about how EV charging can improve the revenue available from a solar install. But increasingly, you saw that curve, that aggressive growth that we're seeing. More and more electric vehicle infrastructure is a must-have amenity, and I don't even really like the word amenity. I think of it as critical infrastructure for new builds across the country. Whether you're building, it's part of building code in California now that a certain number of spaces must have EV charging, and an additional percentage must have be capable of adding EV charging, and we're starting to see that regulation across the country. Additionally, we have it's just, as 40-50% of cars go electric, these cars are going to need to plug in wherever they're parked. So any property with a parking lot can benefit from EV charging. And there's a lot of discussion in the news about DC fast charging and where are you going to find a DC fast charger. And the reality is, for EV drivers, the number one and number two places that they charge is at home and at their place of work, because that is where their car is parked the most. When your car is parked, you could be charging and topping it off. And so we'll talk about AC charging as a critical part of the mix. But really, while everybody is focused on funding DC fast charging, so that because they want to try to replicate a gas station experience, the reality is level 2 AC charging happens at home and happens at work. And that's where most of the charging happens. So it's a real opportunity, like I said, for any property with a parking lot to be adding charging and being able to take advantage of supporting EV drivers and earning some revenue from that. So like I said, you can earn revenue, attract new customers, attract new employees. If you've got if you're renting a property, whether it's to an office space or to a retail plaza, the EV charging is going to increase the attractiveness and demand for that space. It is, like we said, a critical amenity, critical infrastructure for any property. I've already talked about the growing state and local regulations around EV driving, and of course, it does show commitment to your to sustainability and a decarbonized world. So bringing EV charging alongside a solar installation is definitely a way to differentiate the offering. We've seen with residential solar installers an opportunity to go back to existing customer base and grow revenue. We've also seen an increase in solar array size when EV charging is attached, because it does increase the electric load of the home or the property. So we'll see larger, in addition to the revenue around EV, selling the hardware and having a better customer experience because you're offering a more holistic, clean energy solution to the end user. You've also got the added benefit of selling a larger PV array. Okay, so let's talk about what really should be table stakes for any electric vehicle infrastructure charging conversation, and that is to make sure you have networked charging, or smart charging is what we call it. A level 2 electric vehicle charger is essentially just a 240 volt, 40 amp plug, and it can just do a straight draw without any analytics. But the power load is such that you definitely want to be managing that for cost savings, and most utility programs most incentive programs require smart charging so that you can, or network charging, so that you can measure the kilowatt output and also participate in various grid programs. In California and in multiple municipalities, there are tariffs or charging rates that allow you to charge for significantly less, allow you to get a significantly lower electric rate if you're charging your car at certain times on the grid. So there are grid incentives. The install rebates are typically dependent on smart charging. You've got the ability to load balance or to reduce your load using the software platform from the Wi-Fi or the connected station, tracking your consumption and cost, obviously. And then at the commercial scale, just the ability to really understand your fleet or everyone who's plugging into the multiple chargers you have. So smart charging is basically critical table stakes. You might see a cheaper charger out there, but it likely doesn't have a connection to the internet or the ability to be managed remotely. So from Enel X Way, we are a holistic provider of EV charging solutions. We have the hardware and with applications for or with hardware specific to every application that you may have. The software allows you to manage the station, as I mentioned, and then we also are a services arm providing installation support, O&M for the ongoing life of the station. In some cases, we can offer financing or client services and marketing, etc. So let's get into the suite of solutions. What you see here is our Enel X Way product portfolio. So on the far left there is our home charger. That's called the Juice Box. This is as I'll get to, the Car and Driver named it the best overall charger last year. It is the most popular residential charger out there. It's been our we've been selling this product in North America for almost 10 years now. The Juice Box Pro is the kind of purple box that looks similar to that home unit, except it's got a QR code on it, and it is a ruggedized version that is able to handle transactions or and manage access control and use our enterprise software. So you can now charge drivers to use the station. You can manage who has access to the station. And then, and this is really the core of our level 2 charging, which is that AC charging, that 240 volt, 208 volt, 40 amp charging, 32, 40, 48, 80 amp charging. And this is the core of our business and footprint in North America, because like I said, home charging and work charging are the number 1 and 2 places to be charging. And so that's where we've put a lot of effort. What you see to the right of that is the various mounting options. I want to call your attention to the big, I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse here, but the white charger with the Enel X Way at the top. It's got cord management for a better user experience. It has 2 mounted stations on it, and it bolts into a concrete pad. It comes fully assembled and is a really easy install, and it is really what we're seeing at almost every commercial installation. It also has an upgrade option where you can add a credit card reader for retail or public-facing applications, and it is increasingly our most popular configuration of charger. And then to the right, we have various DC fast charging solutions. We start at 50 kW at 480 volt DC fast charging, and we support all DC fast charging connections, or will be able to. We just announced yesterday that we'll be supporting the North American charging standard as well. But these are configurable to meet any sort of DC fast charging solution, whether it's a relatively slow 50 kW charger, which is still quite fast, putting about 150 miles of range into a car in an hour, or up to 350 kilowatts of power, configurable. But we step up 50, 75, 100, 150, 200, all the way up to 350 kW. We'll get into that. So coming back to the juice box, I kind of touched on all of this already, but this is the number one residential charger. This is the box that you saw attached to the solar configurations that Erez was showing at the beginning of the presentation. It's a great product and very, very popular. JuiceBox Pro. What distinguishes this is it's ruggedized. It can handle commercial transactions. It can handle multiple drivers and access control. And it also has an 80 amp charger or 80 amp configuration, which means it can go up to 19.2 kilowatts an hour, which is about 60 or 70 miles of range in an hour, which is pretty fast for level 2. We see a lot of that on the fleet side. For most commercial transaction or most commercial applications, we're seeing 40 or 48 amp charging. Depending on your situation, it might be just 32 amps, but I'm available, and the RENVU team's available to talk about which amperage is the right application for you. Again, going back to these mounting options, we have the Juice Stand Pro, which is basically if you're unable to mount to a wall, this is a relatively low cost option. However, it doesn't have any cord management, and you don't have the ability to put a credit card on a credit card reader on there. The juice pedestal is increasingly this is what we see in 90% of our non-wall mounted installations is the juice pedestal. It's got the cord management. It's just a much cleaner, easy to install, sturdy product. And then the option to add a credit card reader is really making this a very, very popular item. DC fast charging can be its own conversation. I think I've covered most of this already, where we've got the range of these products are called the 50 to 175, but you'll notice that the Juice Pump 150 product line has 100, 200, and 350 kW configurations. I'm going to keep moving on because it becomes a project specific conversation, and I feel like I could talk for an hour about DC fast charging, but so I'll keep it pretty high level. What's great about DC fast charging is how quick it is. It's much more expensive. The electrical infrastructure behind it is much more expensive. The hardware is much more expensive. And so what we really see, most projects are funded by incentives. And so when you are ready to look at DC fast charging, definitely reach out to RENVU or myself, and we can talk about how to, whether this is the right product for you. But one thing I like to think about is, if you think about the property and you think about the car dwell time at that property, do you want to, how long are people parked there? Is it a movie theater? You probably don't need DC fast charging because they're going to be in the theater for 1 or 2 hours. And so level 2 AC charging is plenty fast to help them top off to get to their next location. Is it a convenience store or a gas station or a highway adjacent location where people are going to be pulling off to charge up, and they're only going to spend 20 minutes there? Then DC fast charging is a much better application, or potentially it's a, heavy duty fleet bus application. But I guess that's what we're talking about here. So the really even if you in like a retail shopping center, you might see some DC fast charging, though predominantly you'll see level 2 charging there. If you do see DC fast charging at a shopping mall, it'll probably be 50 or 75, because anything, in that 150, 175 kW range, the cost per car served is so expensive compared to how many cars we can serve per dollar spent on infrastructure. The juice pump 50 is typically what you're going to see more. But like I said, quick stop, convenience stores, gas stations, that's where you're going to see these faster chargers. Behind all of these solutions is our JuiceNet Enterprise software platform, which is designed to give you all the analytics that you need to manage who is using the station and when, how much you're charging them, making sure that you're reporting on all of your sustainability statistics, seeing how many, what you're offsetting through how many kilowatts you've dispensed. And it allows you to manage all of the various challenges that come from owning this infrastructure for the to see that across your portfolio, whether it's one station at or 10 stations at 15 locations. The platform allows for all of that management. On the driver side, we have a very popular, easy to use app that shows you state of charge for your car, allows you to start and stop the charging, schedule your charging to take advantage of your of the tariff that you may have. And this app works at home on your home charger, as well as out in the wild on any commercial charger you may interact with. All right, I've been monologuing here for quite a few minutes, but we're really close. The installation is, you're going to want to take a look at the code, and locally, Enel X Way has a number of install resources available. There's also a level 2 installation certification that takes about an hour to go through this online module. I highly recommend it. It's basic, but it does cover everything that you would need to know, and will just make installation that much quicker. But looking at this slide here, the standard electric code rules apply. It's considered a continuous load, so we need the 125% load. So a 32 amp charger requires a 40 amp breaker. One thing I didn't call out is that on our level 2 charging, on the 32 and 40 amp options, we can, rather than hardwiring the plug, you can also have a NEMA plug to plug into a receptacle. So if your garage has a dryer outlet, you don't actually have to change anything. You can take your electrical, your 240 volt outlet, and plug in an EV charger to that. And so for many homeowners, that's a very quick way to get their home ready to charge their electric car. For the connectivity of the software, Wi-Fi is recommended at the location of install. We also have options to provide a cellular-based local Wi-Fi network through what's called a juice router. So that can support up to 16 charging ports. But Wi-Fi is is really how we end up connecting. The stations also have a built-in cellular option that's definitely a good and reliable solution. However, it does cost more, but something to talk about. Just make sure you've got, best practices are to have Wi-Fi connectivity in the install location. A couple of things to keep in mind: if you are installing, no matter how many stations you're installing today, you will likely have a request to install more in the future. So rather than tearing up your parking lot, laying conduit for 4 chargers, and then repaving your parking lot and installing 4 chargers, we recommend that you lay conduit and get the electrical capacity for 8 chargers, or enough to grow into your into the growing demand, so that you can lay conduit for 8 chargers, install 4, and when it's time to add more chargers, you can pull wire through that conduit and put in another station, rather than having to completely tear up your parking lot again and go through all that process, because about 50 to 70% of any EV charging project is not hardware related. It's all about the infrastructure, getting the wire from your panel to the install location. So as much as you can plan ahead for expansion, that's a huge benefit. Obviously, one thing that we saw early in the industry was people putting the EV charging stations out back, which is just sort of a negative experience for EV drivers. We now see most people putting them in, well lit, easy to find, safe locations, and it's a good look for the property as well to have the EV charging stations out front. And of course, you want to, like all installations and upgrades, you want to make sure you're complying with the American with Disabilities Act. So making sure that you have, California has great guidelines on this, and typically design build professionals will follow those guidelines when figuring out how many stations should be allocated to ADA spaces, striping considerations, pathway, parking lot grading, etc. The stations themselves are ADA compliant. All the controls are at 48 inches or lower for wheelchair accessibility, but just something to keep in mind. I think I've covered most of this. Mounting is pretty straightforward in all of our install materials, but there's a mounting bracket that allows the station to slide on and lock in place. And if you are doing a freestanding station like a juice pedestal or a DC fast charging, it's got to be on a concrete pad. And we have all of the specs available online. The mounting kit for the level 2 chargers comes with the pedestals. So the bolts are there. It's all ready to be wired up. And I'm going to take a deep breath and a sip of water and start answering questions. But that is the general overview, and I will send us some of these links out via RENVU afterwards. That may be of help.
Thanks, sir. So let's get started with a Q&A session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the Q&A section, and we'll try to get as many as we can. And we'll follow up by email if we can go over everything. You can also email our sales team at info@renvu.com for more information and pricing. And as I mentioned before, this webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you a link in a follow-up email. So let's see. Let's start with the Q&A. Can you stop sharing your screen so they will see our faces? It will be.
Oh yeah, apologies.
Great, thank you. Let's see. So first question from Gary, is the DC fast charging 480 volt 3-phase?
Yes. All of the DC fast charging is 40 volt 3-phase.
That's good. For level 2 commercial install, just pedestal for the customer with multiple units, 10 plus. Does the system have the capability to communicate and limit the overall current on the entire system?
Yes. So we the software enables you to group stations. You can do it by a single station, or you can do group stations, but you can limit the total amperage being pulled, or the overall current on the entire system, or by groups of groups of chargers. It's a robust power management system, and we are adding features pretty much every day or every week. So we're continuing to grow out the load optimization and load management capabilities. But yes, the short answer is you can limit the power, and it is a very important feature for these larger scale installations.
Sounds good. Next question from Gail. Future adaptability for vehicle to grid or V2G?
Yeah, so the stations will be currently let me do a proper follow-up on this, because it is in the works, and I just want to make sure I get it 100% right and not say that inaccurately. So I will make sure that that's a follow-up on vehicle to grid capabilities by product line, et cetera.
I'll take the risk and answer some of it. I think that buying a product from a leading EV charging manufacturer is the way to go when you're looking for vehicle to grid solution eventually, because the smaller solutions or the cheaper ones will not for sure handle that. So I think that going with the Enel X Way is the right way to go anyways. Next question, do Enel X level 2 charging station work with 240 delta or 240 to ground? That's the type of three-phase, right?
I actually have not encountered that question. Aris, do you have
so I think that we can
clarity
let
on
our we can let our sales engineers taking that and answer in a follow-up email with after a webinar follow-up email. Let's see the next one. Are there any level 2 chargers that use three-phase circuits? Have run across a couple of locations where there is an available 30 to 40 amp 480 volt circuit, and have not found anything other than a 240 or 208 charger.
We only my understanding is that all level 2 charging across the entire industry is going to be 240 208 charger, so you would want to step that down.
Gary's asking here, when you current limit, I presume that this extends the charging time for the user. How do you notify the extended time added due to power limiting?
That's a really good question, and I believe it is done through the app. Let me get a specific question or answer around that.
Can the DC fast charger charge 800 volt cars?
The answer is yes, and it's one of the platforms. There is that's a short answer is yes, and I would need to talk to the DC fast charging engineer to get the specific, like which model, if you wanted to get really technical, but that would sort of be project specific typically, but no, the short answer is yes.
Does the system continue to work with loss of Wi-Fi network?
Yes, it'll continue the charging session, and then it'll when the Wi-Fi connection is finished, that data will upload.
I think we already talked about vehicle to grid. There is another question here. Is there a residential bidirectional EV charger being developed by Enel X for V2X? And I think we
yeah, I would, it's on the roadmap, and further specifics are probably not available right now. But beyond it being on the roadmap, to Aris's point, as a leading provider of EV charging, but also as a global leader in clean energy and distributed energy resources, it's definitely on the roadmap and definitely part of our ecosystem of holistic solutions.
Next question from Richard. It's continuing, or at least the product capability to measure load versus solar production and push to a residential EV.
Sorry, this is a continuation of a question.
Yeah, for the V2X question.
Oh,
I think that the measuring of loads besides the car would be done with products like Lumen that can read all the loads in the residential environment and the solar system. I would dare to say that the EV charging software will read the available power from the grid and the pull from the car.
Yeah, I will just say that this is, I think how I'm reading this is that it's a relatively, there's a number of systems that need to communicate there, or that would require communication, and Aris is talking about some of the systems that can do part of that communication between solar array, building load, and draw from the car and state of charge from the car. There's nothing on the shelf right now that's doing all of that on a single platform. We are working on some pretty exciting stuff on the commercial side that would, I'm sure, be available eventually in the residential market, that does help balance EV charging load versus building load, and it's pretty cool. And we're hoping to announce that product this year, but we'll keep you posted.
Andy here is asking, does Enel make extension cords for customers who need longer than 25 feet forward?
I don't think so. I can double check.
Certainly will require a higher voltage, or sorry, higher current capacity for this thicker wire. Okay, actually, one question from me. When you were talking about the commercial juice box,
yep,
or the juice box Pro, you mentioned that credit card reader is required, but there is also an option to charge people through the software, right? So if they have QR code or RFID cards, they can connect it to the software and the charging solution.
Yeah, you're correct. For, I would, 95% of our transactions are on our platform occur exactly how you described, using the QR code, where you can with your phone download the app, create an account, and start tracking your usage and paying for how you're paying for the charging. Or you can go that QR code also will push you directly to just a transaction link, so you can pay through PayPal or Apple Pay or credit cards to transact on the station. Or you have an RFID card associated with your account that has payment information behind it. The credit card reader is in response to the regulations in California for public-facing chargers, where you are required to have an EMV chip, and so that is that regulation comes into effect in July, and we have an upgrade kit available for the juice pedestals to get all of our juice pedestals into compliance with that, to avoid any potential fines for that. But that's the credit card reader is really great, that you can use the EMV chip. You can swipe, or you can use tap to pay, and it instantly gets the charging session started. So it's a really streamlined customer experience.
Last question, or several more. So Daryl is asking, when you have time of day or time of use, I assume, how do you limit charging to net zero? Do you have the ability to communicate with the station and say, when you get to a certain point, just stop charging? Or what are the capabilities of the app, let's say?
Yeah, typically the time of day, the best way to use the time to basically, you would want to schedule the charging. As far as limit charging to net zero, is that based off of a solar production and making sure that you don't actually go above what you've already fed back to the grid?
Yeah, that's what I think the question
Okay.
is.
Yeah, let me look into that. That's a really interesting question. As far as like capping the number of kilowatts you put into your car. Because you can limit
Daryl is explaining here that he says, I meant limit to not draw during the day, but having solar. Do you mean Daryl? Do you mean using only solar for charging the car? Please follow up here so we can completely understand your question. Yes. So he's asking if you can limit the system to use only during solar production. Makes sense.
Yeah, you would schedule that with your you've got pretty good analytics around when you're producing the most power on your solar array, so you could schedule it so that it's pulling so that you're charging at your peak production times, and hopefully not yeah, that's possible.
Brent is asking here, we're planning on putting 3 EVs on our company's fleet. These will be available as cars for employees. Is there a way to enter an employee number or a badge number on the charging unit itself, or just directly through the software to track the employee's usage?
Yeah, so most commonly in that situation, we would ask, you could either provide an RFID card associated with that employee, and they would create an Enel X Way account and be able to use that RFID card to charge on your station and track the usage that way. You could also do that through the app. So if they're charging their car at home, they would use the app to charge at home. But then when they come to work, they check the box in the app to say, I'm using my employee badge number here. And so that would allow them to charge. And then you could also have the charging stations limited to the people that you have registered as registered users, which you would associate with that employee ID.
Okay. I think we covered most of it. We will follow up by email for the other questions that we didn't manage to answer here. Again, thanks for joining us today, and thanks, Spencer, for your sharing your knowledge. We'll work on the recording and the email, and we will email it to you in the next few days. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, Spencer.